Shit. Bollocks. Hi, everyone. We had a technical issue. We're fine now. We're all good. Hope you're all doing well. Got 44 people on. That's cool. We'll wait until, I don't know, we have 50, 100. What do people normally do? I'm basically a live virgin, so I don't really know how this works. This is our second live on YouTube. 60 people. Look at that. This is a sub-only chat, so you can only ask a question if you subscribe, by the way. Just a heads up. Whoa. I'll start answering questions, hey? Morning from Idaho, USA. Morning, Shy Franklinstein. It's the afternoon here. Hope you're well. No other dog walkers today to practice. Scared off by the weather. Ah, part-timers, huh? Where are you? Afternoon, Ian. How are you? We had 60, now we're back down to 47. What's happened? What did I say? Must be my language, my foul language. Let me work to the top. I'll work through some questions. See how we go. Yeah. Hi, Jacob. Won't be able to make the live, so hope this is recorded. Yeah, it is recorded, and I think it's then posted on our channel. I recently purchased a prong collar. However, apprehensive to use it. How should I first condition it so it's a positive experience? Yeah, I talked a little bit about the prong collar last time. Propensity to go right, pretty high. Propensity to go wrong, though. Its strength is also its weakness, right? In terms of it can give you a lot of leverage in controlling your dog. However, if we do not condition it correctly, the reason it does give you leverage is because of the effect it has. And so if we don't condition it correctly, we just slap it on a dog and try and punish reactivity out of our dog, there's a very high likelihood we could agitate our dog into a behavior. So something you all need to be familiar with if you're using our channel to train your dog is a pressure that does not alter a behavior will reinforce a behavior. So if I try and stop my dog doing something and they still do that thing, and I try and convince them to do otherwise with pressure of a leash or a collar or a tool, but I do not alter that behavioral path, there's a very high chance, theoretically, of reinforce that unwanted behavior through kind of agitation almost. So we see it quite a lot. We walk our dog down the road. We see them about to blow up. We see them loading, cocked, locked, and ready to load. We start yanking them on the leash to try and snap them out of it. But if we've not conditioned whatever tool we've got, we've not conditioned a redirect, maybe we've not conditioned a punishment marker, then ultimately we're just going to piss our dog off. They're going to blow up. And it's going to be a doubly reinforced behavior because our dog is going to feel the pressure of the leash. Is going to be removed. Look at that. Is going to be removed via reacting. But then also, likely the function of the reactivity is going to be achieved. E.g., the other dog goes away. So that's something to be really conscious of. And that's what I see a lot when people try and DIY things with tools. They'll come for a consult here or whatever, and they'll have bought some tool online, try to knock it out of the dog. And so, when people argue against prong collars in that it can make reactivity worse, there is substance to that argument. Absolutely. There is substance to that argument. So, we just got to be careful, and conditioning is everything when it comes to that. And conditioning isn't necessarily just making our dog comfortable with the tool. Like, it's an aversive tool. It works by being like discomfort compliance. I'm not going to fool you. I'm not going to like bullshit you and say it's anything but. But have we put in the required teaching on that tool to make sure the application of pressure is bringing about desired outcome? And that is more often than not to change our dog's perspective, like the literal perspective, like you would a horse. So, that's just my point on that. There's a few questions here. I got a big screen behind the camera. Um, Hi, Jacob. Is dog puberty real? And if so, how do you deal with it? Uh, y- yes. Like, there's an argument that kind of between, I don't know, anywhere from like 6 to 18 months, your dog is going to go through like a surge of uh, development. And that's where certain hormones are going to be in like full effect, coming through, producing it rapidly. And the dog's going to go through all these hormonal changes. And if you're seeing reactivity prior to that point, this hormonal change can act like fuel to the fire and exasperate things. And so it's really important you get a good grasp of your dog's behavior and understanding them during that time. Because if left untreated, the natural trajectory of that dog's behavior can like it's just like rocket fuel towards unwanted behavior, right? So um yeah, it is certainly a thing, but you got to kind of work with it instead of against it. Just working through these. Any advice on reactivity in our 2-year-old rescue lab, please? He gets a whiff of another dog, and it sets him off. This can be quite far off too. How do you manage this? Well, good question, Lindsay. If you've got a dog that like completely blows up at just the whiff, in your word, of another dog, or even if like 100 meters, or the type of dog whereby um regardless of the threshold, if they can see that dog, they're blowing up. There is a lot of work you need to do away from that picture to create some sort of hesitation in your dog and some sort of like impulse control, so they're not just seeing anything of value and just blowing up in the first immediate instance. So like, can that dog out a toy? Can that dog sit and wait while I throw a toy? And I'm talking like very superficial here, by the way. Can I put my dog on place and like open my front door? There's loads of life lessons I can teach my dog that is going to prepare him to deal with this situation. And I cannot stress the following point enough, by the way, guys. Your dog, to overcome their reactivity, needs a particular set of skills. Yeah, that's a Taken reference. Fine-tuned to the point. One, they'll be able to overcome their reactivity in the first instance, but like two, overcome their reactivity with as little friction in the process as possible. So I've just jumped off our training with instinct call, which is a private call for our group clients, our training with instinct clients, and our one-to-one clients. And common thing that kept coming up was like asking about what to do in the presence of another dog, or insert trigger. Now, the answer I give is dependent on what prerequisites we have met with our dog and how equipped they are to deal with that situation. So, do they know a disengage? Like, can they turn their back on things of value? Do they know a punishment marker? Can they play? Can they relinquish things of value via play? And all of these like behavioral tools, I refer to them as, there's something that need developing first. The most common issue I see when I'm answering questions from the public is Like, what do I do when my dog sees another dog or insert trigger? And my answer is always the same. Like, what can your dog do? Like, what skill set does your dog have? Right. And it's our job, and we have a duty of care as owners, especially of reactive dogs. It's our job to enable our dog and equip our dog with the skill set to deal with those situations. So, a couple of those skill sets are, or a couple of those skills are a disengage. It's all over our channel, a punishment marker. That's not so much on our channel because I don't like to put it out publicly, purely for the reason I think people will misuse it. Now, this isn't some like horrible, crazy aversive technique. It's actually very simple and way less aversive than anyone might ever imagine it to be. However, it's very effective. And I think people will just overuse it and misuse it. So we teach it to our private clients, but I don't put it online because I feel like with the platform that we have, I have somewhat of a duty of care not to put certain things out there. Um, there are like small examples of me using the final punishment marker, but conditioning it is slightly different. Um, if I've not already mentioned, play is one. Like, can I have a conversation with my dog while they're in a hyper aroused state? There's loads of different benefits to play, but one of the main ones is are we able to get through to our dog while they're in gear 5? And we teach that via play. Like the ability to keep still and settle, place work, tether work, lots of that on our channel. Like, is my dog okay with being restricted? You know, because your dog's reactivity, it doesn't, seldom does it just come from one place in many instances. Usually comes through a compoundment of multiple things. So that their lack of tolerance to be restricted, their lack of ability to listen to you while they're in a hyper aroused state, their lack of ability to stay in a calm state while third parties are in a higher aroused state. So your dog wants to mirror third parties, and so just by teaching my dog how to settle while I open the front door, like that does help you and your dog's reactivity. Maybe not directly, but indirectly it does. And so there's so much we can work on in the absence of other dogs that exponentially increases our dog's likelihood of success in the presence of the trigger. Um, so a lot of the trickier cases I work with that I may take dogs from like 4, 6, 8 weeks, I'll spend a 75% of that time working on this skill set. And it's all over our channel, by the way, guys. You might have to do some digging to find it all, but it's all there. We put it out there, bar a couple of the things I've mentioned. But we prepare for that moment. We don't train in the moment. And what I advise all my clients to do is like, how during training can we make it so difficult that real life becomes a much easier task to overcome? Anyway, back to the dogs that I work with, the trickier cases. I spend 75% working on this skill set. Again, setter work, our recall, our disengagement, punishment marker, our play, having conversations while in a heightened state of drive, um, our motivation in the first instance, which I might touch on today. Um, and then by the time like I do present that dog with their trigger, that dog, and I've had feedback on the channel in the past, negative feedback, like people saying that dog's not even reactive. Um, but prior to working on them skill sets, that dog is extremely reactive. And by the time he's faced with his trigger, he should look like a much easier biddable version of himself because he's just better equipped, right? And so the real progress is actually made in the absence of the trigger. And I know that's a very boring answer for you guys. And I know it's kind of not what everyone wants to hear because of as a society, we typically lack patience nowadays, thanks to streaming and Amazon Prime and short form content. Anyway, but yeah, that's my rant on preparation. We prepare for the moment, not in the moment. All right. So There's a lot of questions coming through. So, um, uh, hi, Jacob. Got a 14-month-old Ridgeback male, no aggression in home, but he gets that excited about other dogs. If they come close, he's starting to redirect on whoever is handling him. Yeah, so that's him um, processing his frustration. And this is basic behavioral economics. The other dog is more valuable than you because you're restricting him from something that he deems a very high value. He's processing that restriction with frustration. And so, if we look back at our tools, what do we need to do? Create higher value in you by working on our basic fundamental motivation building principles, learning how to play with our dog and satiating his desire to go and have a decent romp around with our dog, and acclimatizing our dog to restriction. So, something I get all my clients to do is something called tethering. We take a leash in the house initially, really easy. We tie that leash to something immovable. We tie our dog to the leash on their collar or harness or whatever, and we wait. It is an unfortunate fact of the matter that your dog will have to learn to tolerate being confined and restricted. That is the life of a pet dog. That is just a necessary evil of owning a dog. And so again, it's our duty of care to acclimatize them to being restricted. And the easiest way to do that would be at home, right? We start at home, we start easy. And so, like, if your dog has any sort of reactivity issues, on leash especially, then do this simple test. Take them on leash, tie them to something that will not move and is safe to do so, and sit down and put the telly on. See what they do. If they have a tantrum, if they have a big wobbler, which is all it is if you're 2 foot away, then it's suggestive and indicative that part part of the reason your dog is reactive because they have a very low tolerance to confinement. And again, it's an unnecessary evil. It's going to be part of their life as a dog, a pet dog. And so we have to work them through that. And it's as simple as doing what I've just said, restricting them, letting them have a bit of a wobbler. Once they chill out, take them off the back tie, cuddle on the sofa, whatever you need to do. But if your dog can't do that, again, they're probably not going to be prepared enough to tolerate being restricted in front of something that they deem to be very high value. Hopefully that makes sense. So I've heard you sharpening the axe analogy, which I totally understand. And I don't want to keep embedding in that bad habits, but I also need to be able to get the steps in with my dog. And yeah, it's a good point. And it's just kind of where we need to be that's when we need to be really conscious about where we're taking our dog, right? Maybe we do look to employ the renter field. Maybe we do look to get up a little bit earlier. Maybe we do look to just take a different route that day and just get the steps in. You're totally right. We don't want to jeopardize our dogs like exercise needs while we're developing this skill set. So yeah, you make a very good point. And that's one of the most difficult things is like, how do we still facilitate our dogs or like meet our dog's exercise needs, but also and you made another good point here. You play. Yeah, so you play with her beforehand, but then I find it pumps her up and she becomes more excited to pull and sniff. So that's where you just need a break between playing and then exposure or your training, just to let the dog's heart rate come down a little bit. Some dogs can go straight from play to like out walking and doing some work around other dogs. But yeah, some dogs will need just a bit of decompression time after that play session, so they're not like up here and you're taking a dog that's on fifth gear. Good exercise for a dog like that is to go from like play to place work, play to place work, play to place work, and get them to start regulating themselves a lot easier. If a dog stays up there, it'll also mitigate a common effect that happens when you're out with your reactive dog, whereby they react to one dog, it increases the propensity to react to the next dog because they're up there. And so we call that, the dog's lack of ability to recover, but we can teach or we can help our dog recover by utilizing play, place work, play, place work, getting my dog to go up to down, up to down, up to down. Just channel that drive up and down. Can go a really long way. These are a lot of questions coming through. I'm gonna pick the ones, unfortunately, that have most relevance to more people. So the specific ones. Any tips for a dog that has developed superstitious behaviors when you try and shape new behaviors? She'll revert to known commands and display signs of stress when trying to learn new behaviors. So that's where you need to. This is a bit of a niche one. Teach the dog a little bit of independence, like reduce criteria of what you're asking for and get the dog to just like start searching for the food and do lots of work away from the handler. You've probably created like a just a hyper obedient dog. And so don't ask for any new behaviors, but instead show the dog that reinforcement can come away from you. Um, Getting the dog to play with other people as well in the presence of you. If the dog's getting really sticky and is really handler centric. Hi, Jacob. Been watching you for a while now. I've been taking lots of notes. I'd like to become a dog trainer. What are some good ways to start? We have a dog trainer development program that's going to start in January, by the way. We're just building the website for it now. But if you message me on Instagram at JM Dog Trainer, I'll send you over the details. There's 15 on that cohort. We've formulated it off the back end of being able to help and solve people's problems, not some bullshit certificate cookie cutter. You're going to learn about wolves and all this nonsense and completely leave you unequipped to actually help people out with their struggles and their dog. I'm going to be very careful here because I could go off on some tirade of how much bullshit there is out there on teaching people how to become dog trainers. I truly think you'll get more from my YouTube channel than any of these industry leaders that are going to just give you a bunch of bullshit theory about dogs, tell you why you shouldn't use balanced dog training, and then teach you the engage-disengage game. And if anyone here has done one of those programs, I'm sure you can vouch for it. That's exactly how they all look. Anyway, back to your questions. But yeah, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, reach out to me personally. Would love to help you and help you help more people. Look how many people need help. Hi, Jacob. Struggling with helping people with in-home reactivity with dogs barking from people at the front door. It's not out of aggression, but just want to say hi. Happy to comply to place. There's different ways we can look at this, right? And if we look at dog economics again, we can use reinforcement, both positive and negative, to increase the value of our dog staying on place. We can get that up to a really high level where our dog deems a value of, let's say, 8 out of 10 to be on place. All right. I'm being superficial here, but we're on a YouTube live. It's not a deep dive session. If the dog has such a strong history of reinforcement and perhaps they have some genetic tendencies to be more defensive around where they live, then there's a good chance that no matter how strong we get that place work, like it'll hit a ceiling of like 8 out of 10. And if the value to bark at the door is a 9 out of 10, economics takes place and our dog's going to bark. So that's where the role of punishment comes in. It reduces behavior, intensity, frequency, and likelihood of behavior. And so if we get that sticking point where our economics hit the threshold, like that ceiling of like, there's no matter how much work I can do here, it's not going to trump the dog's genetic predisposition to go fucking apeshit or history of reinforcement to go apeshit at the front door, then maybe I need to make that behavior less comfortable to the dog in order for my economics to swing into my favor. So I punish the barking at the door, then I come back to reinforcement to show the dog what they should be doing. Obviously, there's a bit of a process to put that in place, but that's my 2 cents on that. Hi, Jacob. I know it's a bit late for us in the UK, but do you have any tips on the best way to prepare your dog for fireworks season? I think this was asked last week. It is a little bit late. This is something we need to work on in preparation for this time of year, truth be told. So, best way to acclimatize your dog to something for me is playing around that particular thing at a threshold that your dog will stay inside the game, but also process that that thing is still there. What you can do right now, though, maybe you can introduce play early on in the evening while the fireworks have not fully kicked off. That would be good. Um, don't let your dog like run around the house like a madman or woman and try and pacify themselves, like going under the sofa, doing like laps of the sofa, checking out each window. They're never going to process what's truly happening there, and they're just going to be in this frenzied state. So stick a leash on your dog. You can chill out with your dog. You can comfort your dog by all means. Just act normal though. So one of our sausage dogs doesn't do great around fireworks. Like she's fine though. Like she gets a little bit stressed by it. Not some of the stuff I see on, like not the same as some of the stuff I see online. But my girlfriend will pander to it. Like she'll, oh Martha, everything's gonna be fine, and like put a little snuddy on and comfort her and act weird in herself. And all that is doing is telling the dog, Mum's freaked out too. So we can say, hey, don't be silly. Come here. We're all good. Stick the telly on and put a leash on the dog to stop the dog like pacing and stuff, which I think will make things worse. That's where most people go wrong. They like pander to the dog. And it's not because I'm not saying like you're going to reinforce the dog's fear. I don't believe that to be true or can happen. But you can act like a weirdo and completely abnormally, which communicates to your dog that something abnormal is happening, right? So you got to adopt the like, hey, don't be silly. Come here. We're all good. Not like, oh, everything's going to be fine, and act strange. So acting normal is important. Jacob, my 8-month-old Shepsky walks 2 to 3 miles twice a day and play, but still full of energy and locks into dogs or people. How do I snap him out of it? I feel like no amount of exercise is enough, lol. So it depends how we play. There's 2 types of play, generally. There's constructive play and there's non-constructive play. Play with rules where we introduce some sort of impulse control and we have an out and so on and so forth. That is what I'd call constructive play. Non-constructive play is just like willy-nilly tug with no control or lots of ball chasing that's just going to develop your dog's engine. And then we'll have a disparity between the dog's engine size and the metaphorical brake pads we have on the dog. When we have a big engine and a shitty set of brakes, what's going to happen is we're just going to increase our dog's exercise demand threshold, and we'll require more and more and more and more. But when we play with rules and structure and introduce some impulse control, that then becomes constructive play. And so my question back to you in this instance with your Shepsky is this play constructive or is it non-constructive? Is it just like willy-nilly, full of impulse, I'm going to chase this thing until I get tired? Or is the dog required to use their brain during the game? One will mentally and physically fatigue the dog and develop the dog, because it's much easier to scale and increase how hard we make the game in terms of impulse control. Whereas if we have no rules, like we're just required to lengthen that game, throw the ball further, which will develop the engine furthermore, and require more exercise to tire that dog out. And it's going to be a forever game of cat and mouse where it's going to be so difficult to eventually hit those dogs' exercise needs, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, let me know if it does make sense. I have 2 huskies. Why have you all got huskies? You're crazy. A 1 and a 14-year-old. Older one hates the younger one, probably because he's an asshole and is a husky and spends all the time downstairs. How can I encourage her down? First things first, you advocate for your older dog. My 2 older dogs, Ranger and Darla, they get away with fucking murder, and I do not tolerate any bullshit from my younger dogs towards those 2 dogs. They have paid their dues. And I advocate for them. I referee them. Dogs are not allowed to jump on them. Dogs are not allowed to be intrusive to their space. And we have an agreement, me and the older dogs. Hey, you don't kick the shit out of the younger dogs, but I will make sure I look after your personal space on your behalf so you don't need to. So first things first, like my question is, are you refereeing that situation well enough? And are you advocating for your older dog that you've had 14 years with? I see too many people, and this isn't a Paula, by the way. Sorry, I called your dog an asshole. It's just a joke. But if I come in a bit hot with any of these topics, please know I'm saying most things in jest. But I see too many people get a younger dog and that younger dog take absolute fucking liberties inside your home, and you treat that younger dog like they've paid their dues, like your God blessed older dog has. But that's not the case. My younger dogs must earn their stripes before they get the same level of liberty as Ranger does. He has the ultimate liberty. That boy is not seen in the inside of a crate for years. He sleeps on the front seat he comes to work on the front seat of my car. He has full reign of the YCA. We joke he's our HR manager. He has paid his dues. Stark, on the other hand, he's 3 years old. He doesn't get that same amount of liberty. He's not earned it yet. And I'm not saying this from a place of me being tyrannical over the dogs. I'm simply saying, like, the level of behavior and independence he can have in maintaining his behavior himself and autonomy is directly correlative with how much freedom he has, right? So Ranger has a lot of freedom, as does Darla. The sausage dogs, less so. Kobe, Stark, less so, but they get in there. If I were to have a puppy from the get-go, he would be restricted and confined for a fair while whilst he develops that skill set of being how to autonomously regulate his own behavior. And that comes from my feedback. If you do advocate, that's cool. But you put a leash on your older dog, you bring them down and say, look, let me show you. I'm not going to let this little asshole take the piss. Don't worry. He's in a crate, look. You chill on the sofa, old one. I'll deal with the puppy being an asshole. You don't need to. He's not going to bother you at all. But sometimes we have to compel our dog into that situation. Hey, come on, come downstairs. All's going to be fine. And use a leash to do that. Also, is a halty a good training tool to stop her from lunging on dogs and other people? The thing is with a halty, while I could say and do say a tool's value is in how you condition it. The thing is with a halty, is pretty much the only tool that immediately requires counter conditioning because its natural state, it is aversive to the dog because it restricts their mouth, their number one tool for self-defense. Right? It restricts. That is like you being walked into a compromising situation with your hands tied behind your back. There and then, you might be less likely to react because starting a fight, you are likely to lose it because your hands are tied behind your back. But then when the tool comes off and you've been compromised for so long, you might act hyper defensive to compensate for all that time you spent restrained, essentially. And so the halty is a really difficult tool to fade away because the halty is a very difficult tool to fade away because it naturally very aversive and is really restricting. And so then when we take it off, the disparity between it being on and off, even if it's in its natural, just like non-conditioned state, the disparity there is crazy. And so you'll see a lot of regression as soon as you take that tool off. See a lot of trainers that claim to be non-aversive using these tools. But for me, like I said, it's the only tool that requires immediate counter condition. If you put that tool on a dog, you will see a dog willing to scratch his own fucking eyeballs out in order to get it off them. Tell me that's not aversive to the dog. Whereas I put a prong collar on the dog, it does nothing. It does nothing. It doesn't go get this fucking thing off me. It just sits over the dog. It does nothing. And then I can use it how, I'm introducing it via food and play. So riddle me that one. I put a tool on a dog, it immediately wants to scratch his own eyeball out. But I put the prong collar on the dog, and he goes, it means nothing yet. And I can give it meaning. I can start from 0 and then give it a meaning, whether that's some aversive meaning or some, positive meaning, the means of redirection. Or, someone could stick a prong on the dog and just fucking belt it. We're going to then get superstitions around that particular tool, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts on the head halty. Truth be told, I don't like them. I think they're the most aversive tool. Very hard to counter condition, and even if you do counter condition it, it's the most restricting. I believe. Like I said on the prong collar, people ask me about the prong collar every single day. It's it's the contentious tool, right? It's the Andrew Tate of dog training tools because of how it looks. And let me just be very clear here, the propensity for things to go wrong when introducing that tool is also very high. Because the nature of how it works. Like, it has the propensity to be exceptionally aversive, as does most things. And so, what happens is then people put it on the dog, expecting the tool to fix the reactivity. All we do is then like try and yank it out of the dog, and we add more fuel to the fire. We G the dog up. So, for me, the worst possible tool for deal with your dog's reactivity. Take a guess what I'm going to say. Let me know in the chat. What do you think I'm going to say? And I'll justify it too. Any guesses? It's the God-forsaken flat collar. Because the flat collar is comfortable enough for a dog to pull into. It closes the windpipe enough where it's going to restrict breathing and increase the dog's heart rate, but not uncomfortable enough to actually change the dog's behavior. And so we end up walking the dog like a really heightened state of arousal. And of course, like, we can condition it, but with the lack of leverage it has, the amount of dogs we see like pull into it and through it is just nuts. It's just uncomfortable enough to add fuel to the fire. But again, not uncomfortable enough where the dog goes, "Oh shit, I don't want to pull into that." Right. And so, yeah, inevitably what happens is lots of guesses here, but someone said flat collar. Someone said flat collar. But yeah, that's probably the number one misused tool because one is obviously the most popular. People just stick a flat collar on the dog. But again, enough discomfort to amplify the behavior, but not enough to like the dog to go like, "Oh, fuck that. I don't want to pull into that anymore." There's another question. What are your thoughts on muzzles? So, this is an answer I will answer carefully, diplomatically. You do not see me use muzzles that much because of the dog you train in a muzzle is a different version of the dog, right? So, but that said, without being too modest, and touch wood, I'm pretty good at not getting bit because I can see it in a dog and I'm pretty fast. And so, if you need a muzzle in order to keep a dog safe or a human safe or whatever it needs to, then yes, please God, use a muzzle. But when I've got short amount of times to turn dogs round, right? I like to train without muzzle when it's as much as it's safe to do so, because if that's where I see the real version of the dog. When the muzzle's on the dog, a little bit like the head collar, you see just a diluted, different version of the dog that's going to show you different behaviors entirely because they're very aware that the number one tool for self-preservation is taken from them. And so then when the muzzle does come off, if you have any intention of taking it off, you kind of got to start from scratch again. And when I've got limited time with some of these dogs, I preferred to not use one in the first instance. I think Athena I did because she was like a biter, but then I try and get it off as soon as and just like be really careful. So what is the best collar to manage reactivity? Well, um, that's a not an easy question to answer. The goal is to never manage it. Management is not the goal. Please set your sights a lot higher than just managing your dog. We take dogs here that are, for all intents and purposes, completely fucked. We had a lady on our Training with Instinct call just an hour ago, 4 different trainers. She did our virtual one-to-one program. She didn't think she would ever get that dog off a leash. Severely reactive. Trainers told her to put the dog down, right? She can now walk the dog off leash around other dogs, off leash, and he comes back. She trusts him to his entirety. Aim higher. It can be done. You just fed a lot of bullshit online by idiots who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Excuse my French. Now, are there cases where we can't, like, we hit a ceiling? Absolutely. Like, genetics will play a part here, and so do history reinforcement. But we pleasantly surprise owners each and every day that come and train with us that their dog is way more capable of having a better life and be better behaved if we just follow the process. I promise you, it can get way better than you probably think. You all know I'm a big proponent of the e-collar and why I speak so fondly of it. To enable your dog to live a much better life than they currently have right now. To be frank, your dog is probably not as big of an asshole as you think. He just has a shitty life. Okay? And I'm sorry that might hurt some people's feelings because it taps into the internal guilt that you might be carrying. But that's not to say there aren't solutions and answers out there. Can online training be effective for you? Absolutely. Everyone that does our Training with Instinct program, which is an online one-to-one virtual program, it's for reactive dogs. And I will be so bold to say that our team and I can do more on our virtual program than these bullshit long board and trains where you're going to send your dog off for 10 weeks. They're going to fucking turn it into a robot. And then about 3 weeks later, he reverts to square one. It's frustrating. There is a lot of scaremongering and hate using any type of collars for Frenchies from trainers, essentially saying their head will pop off. Now mine will not wear one. Yeah. We see it all the time. You go near it, then they're just going to try and bite you for whatever reason. Like the whole point in a tool like a slip lead, a prong collar, an e-collar is so we don't use it. The dog understands. We teach the dog. So like they're not going to feel any pressure of the collar, right? Because they're walking next to us. They're healing. Now, how many Frenchies do we see that are just like dragging the owner along in a harness, completely fucked, completely fatigued, eyeballs popping out of their head because we couldn't put a collar on the dog and we couldn't teach the dog how to walk nicely next to us. The time under tension, if I put a prong collar on a French bulldog, is like 0.1 second for a whole fucking walk. Time under tension of a flat collar is like 99% of the time. Pressure is relevant, right? I have some people that are just like, oh yeah, no, I walk my dog on a flat collar. He chokes himself out for 59 minutes of an hour walk unless he's sniffing and then I stood next to him. But I'd never use a prong collar where I need to pop it 5 times during a walk. And each pop is potentially aversive to the dog. But that's versus the dog choking itself out, basically unconscious almost, for 59 minutes. It's insane. Think about the perspective. Like, it's just a perspective thing, isn't it? My friend is at the stage where they can't trust the dog not to bite or lunge at anyone. But they've been told to put the dog down. I can't answer this one on a live, right? I can't put that question out to the masses, um, because there's so much depending factors to the question you've just answered that asked me there, Emily. Your friend needs to go and see a trainer. They can come to us, whatever. Um, it depends. If a dog's bitten another dog or a person like more than twice, it does become difficult. That said, I've worked with dogs that have bitten people multiple occasions, and we never trust a dog to the full degree, perhaps. Darla's fucked up loads of dogs in her earlier days. I trust her really well around other dogs. So does Ranger too. I say loads, a couple. Hey, Nikki. So Nikki has Pedro. When I was in Sid, when did I see you, Nikki, in Sunshine Coast? Was it? God, I want to go back there. I'm like every single day. I'm sending May, my partner, reels and stuff of people in Australia, and God, I'd move there in a heartbeat if I could. If anyone wants to sponsor me to live in Australia, I'll train your dog for free forever. By the way, that's a real offering. But yeah, good to see you. I'm glad to see Pedro's doing well. He's a pretty tricky dog, actually. Fair play to you. He's still my I think he might be my WhatsApp photo of me and your dog out on the beach there in my Michael Ellis t-shirt. That was a good session. That was good. We saw a big lizard. He's had a perfect morning today. 4 dogs crossed paths, all at different times. Recall use, distraction, and good choices made by Pedro and play. This is a huge win for both of us. Good on you, Nikki. He's not an easy dog. Big working line German Shepherd. Good on you. That's awesome. Good job. You've done very well with that dog. He's not easy dog. You've done great. Proud of you. How do you feel about the prong for strong pulling, not necessarily reactivity? Less propensity to go wrong if he's not reactive. In the first instance. How do I build up my dog's confidence back up after he become lead reactive from chemical castration, which is now worn off? The chemical castration won't be the only reason your dog is reactive. If you can answer me the following with the yes, like, then we can maybe talk about the castration. But does he have like strong impulse control when you're playing with him? Can he redirect from things of high value? Even if that's just your partner or your friend or your auntie, brother's mother's sister trying to entice the dog with a toy? Can he hold it down, stay, whilst things of value are going on around him? You know? There are lots of dependents to the question there. This is a good question. How do I know when to stop playing with my dog? Usually I spend 5 to 10 minutes per play, but I don't know if that's too much or too long. It depends. If you can play and your dog stay in the game for like 10 minutes, it's time to maybe add control in, start adding in other facets and aspects to the game. If, though, you're trying to develop your dog's desire to play, general rule of thumb is we stop the game prior to the dog getting bored of the game. So I went into more detail about that on the last live, so you might want to watch that. How do you start a walk with an anxious dog when both neighbors have dogs barking and lunging every time you go on a walk? Well, there's a couple of ways we can approach this. I take the dog out. They've got a lot of anticipation that the something's going to kick off either side of them or like over there or whatever. And anticipation can be friend or foe. But I'm going to take the dog out. I'm going to pull out my toy as soon as they like even have a whiff of the other dog being out, and I'm just going to redirect them into a game with me. And I'm going to show them that in this picture, what happens more often than not, you get rushed by other dogs or whatever. I want you to start anticipating that this picture means that we're about to play with each other. We're about to go into a high arousal state, but you're going to send it this way. You're going to send it towards me, not away from me. It's somewhat of a damage mitigation method but it at least stops your dog rehearsing their unwanted behavior, right? And that's fine. Like, I'm fully on board with distraction techniques. And this is why I get fucking abuse all the time online with people like, oh, yeah, but you're just shoveling food down the dog's face and all this. And I'm like, you can, for any of you listening, a behavior that is rehearsed is reinforced, right? The more your dog does it, the more they're likely to do it in the future. And so, whilst you're developing your dog's skill set to tolerate that situation, by all means, do everything you can to just manage the situation so at least your dog's not rehearsing that behavior. So, that might be distracting your dog with food. That might be hiding behind a fucking car. That might be just like blocking your dog's view so they don't actually clock the dog in the first instance. But so long as we're not allowing the dog to make deposits into that behavior bank account, because the stronger that account the dog has of being reactive, the harder it's going to be to get rid of. That is fine. So sometimes I will just divert a dog's attention, just plow food down its neck and completely distract it while another dog is passing a little bit close. If that means he doesn't get the feelings of reacting towards that other dog and deposit into that bank account, then that is fine. Hopefully that makes sense. And while it might not fix the problem, it at least doesn't allow the problem to get worse, right? When your dog barks, people say to ignore it as long as his needs are met, but surely that's reinforced. That's a good question, Jody. So depends on some breeds. The internal reinforcement they'll get from just barking, like a shepherd, is pretty high. And if it's been reinforced a lot in the past, so like what happens is if a dog, and here's like a truth that people won't admit and don't like to admit, if a dog does a behavior that achieves a function for long enough, and the function is going to be reinforcing, like barking and you let them out of the crate, barking, you let them out of the crate, and you do that throughout all of puppyhood, the thing that achieved the reinforcer will become reinforcing in itself, right? The old analogy I used to use was theoretically, we should not like the taste of coffee because it's bitter. That's indicative to our body that it is technically poisonous, which, you have too much of it, it is. But because if we feel great from the caffeine of coffee, what happens is we find coffee reinforcing and therefore the taste of coffee reinforcing, right? And then what happens is we don't even need to achieve the function anymore of getting the buzz after coffee, and hence why people, including Kirky, drinks decaf coffee. He likes the taste of coffee even though he shouldn't, because the history of reinforcement meant the and he will like the taste of coffee forevermore now because it's been reinforced so much, right? So he could drink decaf coffee for the rest of his life without receiving the buzz after the fact, because it's like habitual. And so this is why sometimes ignoring behavior, or a lot of time ignoring behavior, once it's achieved enough reinforcement, it won't go away on its own without some maybe aversive applied. That's just fact of the matter, right? That's just fact of the matter. A big thank you from a German Shepherd lover and owner from Germany. There's a lot of Germans there. For you being you, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate it. I'm a bit over it now. I used to be a little bit more careful of what I said, and now I'm just fucking. I don't have any intention just to try and keep people happy. And there are a lot of dog trainers out there, right, that will just virtue signal and say bullshit people want to hear as a marketing ploy. I've been in this game for long enough now. We train fucking more dogs in a week than most dog trainers do in a lifetime. I am certain about that. And my own eyes do not lie to me, right? I can see these dogs and owners leaving here with happy fucking faces and smiling and living better lives. You only have to check someone's reviews to see if they can offer that to someone or not. And so, like, I'm a little bit over being careful with my words at this point. Whereas like a younger version of me like had to be careful. And now I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to tell people the truth. You know the amount of force-free dog trainers that message me on Instagram in private saying they e-collar train their own fucking dog, but they're too scared of their own community turning on them, so they'll never come out, and they say, "Thanks for being so open, man. Thanks for saying it how it is." Now, I'm not a piece of shit, so I'm not gonna out them, but that happens every single fucking day pretty much. So, I'll leave you with that one. I'll leave you with that one. Um, aren't e-collars banned though? Yeah, well, in some countries they are, James. So you tell me where you're from, and I'll let you know if they're banned there or not. And I'm sure if someone in the chat would help you out. People are lying to you. People are straight face fucking lying to you about what they can do with dogs. Where's the proof? Everyone has a smartphone. I got about fucking 8 cameras in this room. Trust me, if you're that good at training dogs, the demand there is at the moment, you could afford with your spare change for someone to follow you around with a camera and document every case study you got. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? Where is it? Where's the proof? Show me a YouTube channel where someone's fucking doing it and turning out these results. You'll have some fucking dickhead in their living room teaching a dog tricks, saying like advocating for force-free dog training. But who's turning around these big problems of dogs? Look how many people there are on this call with problem dogs, you know. Yeesh. Hello, I have an unsocialized English Bull Terrier because of medical reasons. For first half a year of his life now, he is reactive, but in a playful way, as he wants to get to the dog to play. So, dog economics again. He wants to play with other dogs more than he wants to play with you. You need to teach your dog how to play, and you are a great source of fun. You're a phenomenal source of fun. Different ways we can do that. I'm a big advocate of play. I know I do talk about tools a lot, but that's only because of like, I like calling people out on the bullshit. Everyone can accept that playing with your dog is a great thing to do and probably one of the best things you can do, right? I don't walk my dogs. I play with them over walking them every time. Carlo, good to see you too, buddy. You want to get over to the UK and come and visit the YCA? No problem. Carlo did my mentorship program. Good guy, good trainer. Tell everyone where you are, Carlo. And if anyone here in that chat can go and see you, he'll help you out. He's a good man. I don't know where I was going. Oh yeah, the English Bull Terrier. Great dog, by the way. Probably like in my top 3 dogs. They're so cool. They're hilarious. They have so much personality. They're great to train. They got loads to give. But if we don't channel that towards the constructive pathways, right? What's going to happen then? It's going to be sent elsewhere. We can't just suppress things with our dogs. All this like naughty behavior, a lot of the time is a form of expression. And to get rid of that, we do need to suppress it. We can do that via punishment. We can do that via management. We can do that by alternate behaviors. But if we do not give an outlet for the expression that we have to suppress, we play behavioral whack-a-mole and it'll start coming out here, there, and everywhere. So suppression is often necessary to change behavior, but it must coincide with expression for something constructive. This is why you'll always hear me talk about play. Laura and Larry, how long do you stay in the conditioning phase for the e-collar on average? It's a binary question. Does the dog understand the stim or not? If we're just doing it over recall, I put the dog mid-level stim, low-level stim, I tap the button, do they turn and come back to me? Great, I'm ready to move on. As soon as I have that, I'm ready to move on. Enthusiastically sipping. I don't know what that means. Colm said, have a beer. I don't drink, but I'll have a San Pellegrino. I'm trying to drink more water at the moment. Apparently, it's good for your brain. The e-collars, yeah, Dogtra's good, Garmin's good. But I always have to caveat this and add a disclaimer. Please, if you're opting to utilize a tool, and I know I put lots of content about it out there, just for the sake of spending some cash and doing it right and not fucking your dog up, go and find a trainer. You're more than welcome to come and apply to work with us. The team, they hold our standards at very high standards. Like, so you know, we don't just shift out bullshit online courses. Our one-to-one virtual program comes with hand holding. Like, we will hold your hand the whole time. Okay, you have a personal line to me. You have a personal line to the team. You have a daily group call in small groups if you need it, and you have one-to-ones in that process as well. We completely understand the shit you all might be going through, and we have worked with people that have gone through it. Okay, so if you do want to work with us, you can click the link in the description and apply to work with us. This is what I was asking before. You don't want to jump to a prong without being taught yourself. Absolutely not. What else have we got? What's the best outlet for a squirrel chaser? Tried all sorts, play including flirt pole, tug fetch. He is too easily distracted and mostly disinterested. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to stop things before we start another thing, right? Sometimes I have to take the squirrel chasing off the menu, maybe with aversive control, before I open up a pathway to show a dog a new healthy hobby instead. Some instances, we can just go ahead and some instances we can just go ahead and say, hey, do you want to do this instead? And manipulate that game to get my dog really fucking into it. Other times though, sometimes like our dog has too much rehearsal on chasing that other thing. I have to say like, we're not allowed to do that anymore. But how about doing this instead, right? So sometimes that might be your answer, Maunders, if that even is your name. Robin Mist. What do you think are realistic expectations for a hypersocial adolescent golden retriever learning to have good manners with other dogs when he's off lead? I don't have many appropriate dogs to help. You don't need a lot of appropriate dogs. You don't want to like let them have at it and learn the hard way, because the other dog might take it too far. And so this is where we teach a bad marker, and we use that to referee the situation. If the dog gets a bit too much, hey, that's bad. And the bad marker is stop, don't do that, but like pick something else. It's not like do a particular thing and it has its own use in its own right, versus like a recall, like you have to come back. And so we teach a set of markers, we teach the skill set, and we socialize our dog, but also acting as a referee, but also teaching the dog again. I can't reiterate enough. Like, hey, it's pretty good. You know, I'm not just boring old mum or dad. Like, we can have that level of fun too. And learning how to play and tap into like play that involves contest and is a genuine competition could go a really long way. What are some good games for herding breeds? I take the dog on a line and I take a flirt pole. I teach the dog a very solid out. Out doesn't mean let go of the toy. It means the game is paused, by the way. So when I teach it out, I flirt the toy along. And because I've not said yes to start the game again, he will naturally stalk the toy. And I do like stalking substitution. I'm not a herding expert. Like, I'm not a collie guy. You know, if you've got a strong fucking bull breed, you got a Malinois, you got a shepherd, you got something like that, I'm your guy. We're your guys. That's the shit we help with. Don't get me wrong. I love a golden retriever. Collies, I think, are a little bit niche. So collies are a little bit niche. we've had plenty of collies come through our program and they've done phenomenally. But you got a shepherd, you got a Malinois. I'm just so familiar with that dog. There's just so many that come through. It's like this exponential effect. I get one. I do a couple of videos on them. People keep bringing me them. Do a couple more videos. People keep, and it's like compounds. This domino effect. I just have a natural affinity to that dog too. I feel very empathetic towards them. See a lot of them in like non-working households, and they just want to work. And so I look at Stark and Kobe, my dog, and I just think like I couldn't think of anything worse than like a lifetime of torture for you, sat on a sofa somewhere, going stir crazy, chewing up the sofa. You know, I think flirt poles are great. I think flirt poles are great. I think especially if like we have a disparity between the I think the best use when we have a disparity be like the handler's physical capability versus like the dog's physical capability. Of course, like most dogs can do more than most handlers, but if we've got a young border collie and maybe more elderly, less physical capable owner, long flirt pole, we can get more bang for buck. We can get more bang for buck. So we don't do one-to-one sessions. We do a one-to-one program. It's 60 days long. It's expensive. It's just shy of £2,000, truth be told. That's to make sure that we keep the group in which we work with, the amount of people we work with, smaller, but also the time you have contact with our training team is pretty ridiculous. So there's daily contact there, one-to-one line. That's what we think is required, that regular level of feedback in order to overcome these big problems. If you've got a smaller problem, go and see a local trainer. Like, I'll just say that straight. But if you've got a big problem, we can certainly help you with that. We offer a money back guarantee. This, just so you know, this isn't like a bullshit fucking sales mechanism. Like, we refund like 4% of people that work with us. Like, we do give those refunds. Maybe we shouldn't have signed them up in the first place. It is based on criteria that you do the homework. But listen, between you and us, our business does very well. Like, giving you a refund isn't going to break the bank and suddenly not going to allow us to pay rent or anything like that. So we are not in the game of taking anyone's money that we can't genuinely help. And by help, I don't mean make your life a bit easier. I mean like completely transform your dog's fucking life where they were reactive and try to kill everyone to then being off a leash. And, like this lady I mentioned earlier on the TWI call. Like, we aim for nothing less than that, and if we fall short, you can have your money back. I don't give a shit. I've got no problem with Tom Davis. I've spoken to him a couple of times. We've WhatsApped and shared some messages. Seems like a really cool guy. Seems like a genuine guy too. Seems to really love dogs. He's obviously a phenomenal businessman too. He led the way. Him and Will. He led the way in probably educating people on how tools are not the devil. And while mine and Tom's training does differ, and is very different, I think he's done great things. And so, like, when I see balanced dog trainers like fucking hounding the bigger YouTubers, which I might have been guilty of in the past, not Tom in particular or Will, but I'm like, all they've done is the smaller dog trainer a favor in terms of better educating people on maybe there is a place for a prong collar and an e-collar. And so, yeah, I have nothing but actually respect for the guy. Kudos to him, what he's done. He's obviously got some young kids now, and I think he's doing a little bit less on his business side of things. Yeah, good on him. I wish him nothing but the best. I've not spoken to Hamilton Dog Trainer. I've watched a couple of his videos. We occasionally will copy each other's thumbnails. I know that much. He seems pretty good with dogs, though. Seems pretty good, dogs. Say it how it is. Do you offer anything for trainers who already in business? Yep, truth be told, that's what I do nowadays. I'm helping dog trainers grow their businesses. Like, I really love it. You send me a message on Instagram, I'll send you all the details if you want, Laura and Larry. This is why I get to be so open and frank about the dog training side of things. Most of my income, my personal income, comes from helping other dog trainers grow their business at the moment. And so, Yeah. Cool. Um, any other questions? We'll do another 5 minutes or so. Get your questions in now. The one-to-one program is the training with instinct program now. It's the same thing. I can screen share. I have what it entails here very quickly. It's training with instinct is the core of the program, but it's molded to you. Um, you get 24/7 support. That's what makes it really cool. Core components. You get 4 one-to-one sessions. You get a personalized behavior roadmap. So when you sign up, you fill out an assessment form. Basically, it gives us all the fucking details we need. You get 24/7 support line from our staff. And you also get, at the moment, I will take this away, my personal number, purely because this is version 2.0, and I want to make sure it goes as smooth as possible. So when we roll it out to more people, all the T's and all the T's across the I's are dotted, and so on and so forth. You get the training with instinct vault access. There's 5 core modules there: punishment, motivation, e-collar, the redirect stuff, and then real life application. So that's the secret sauce. We think is better utilized in the presence or alongside a training team or our training team. Yeah, we go through the assessment, all of that. If anyone needs this, I can send it to you. This is that's the investment cost. That's our refund rate. So like I said, we do give out refunds. I don't want to take anyone's money if we can't help you solve your problem. That's what happens next. Bloody, bloody, blah. Listen, I'm not out here to any of you guys, but if you're interested, you can go and fill in the link in the description. I just wanted to kind of see what's going on. It was a blank screen. Sorry. You have to send me a message. Carlos said, do his mentorship. Well worth it from a growth and training perspective. What else we got? What else we got? Yeah, I'm sorry to hear you might have got burnt by local training. It happens a lot. When people sign up to train with us, on average, we're like the 3rd or 4th trainer they've tried. Usually try 1 or 2 force feed trainer. Then what happens is they'll try a balanced dog trainer on the complete opposite side of the spectrum that just like smashes their dog and gives them like a temporary fix. And then the dog regresses, and then they come to us, and we obviously, if you haven't figured her out yet, we have more of a, I want to say holistic approach, but there's a bit of a buzzword at the moment. It's taken a while to get to a day like today. It's come off with a lot of tears and feelings of failure, but perseverance and training with instinct. So anyone has a reactive dog, don't give up. Thanks for the shout out, Nikki. She's one of our overseas clients. Big shepherd, big naughty boy, but he's doing very well. Good. Yeah, so to your point, James, the only place in the UK with a ban on e-collars, I believe, is Wales. Currently in England, it is not illegal to buy, sell, or use remote training collars or e-collars. Scotland, I think, does have a ban though. So I think, Jody, you might want to check that. But England at this current stage, it is not banned. They tried to put through the ban, and if you ask ChatGPT, they'll tell you they're banned, but they're not. They're not banned in our country. Are you more compulsion based or inducive? I don't know what inducive means. You watch any of my videos, you can make how I train on YouTube is how I train dogs in real life. It's how I work with dogs. It's I'm totally transparent in everything. I'm not one of those dog trainers that hides things behind screens or corrections or big corrections or anything like that. I don't say I use food when I don't, and vice versa. I how we and we thought about this for a long time. We thought about, like, do we completely just show everything and people might take that information and misuse it, but also at the same time, like, with how much smoke and mirrors there are online at the moment on social media and dog trainers, and this is not all of them. I'm not saying like, hey, we're perfect and everyone else are charlatans, but at the same time, yeah, I think being transparent is really important, and how we get the, yeah, Nikki, if you send us a message, I'll send you Training with Instinct version 2.0 a login today. So if anyone's here that have done training with instinct and you want the updated version, of course there's no extra charge. Send us a message, we'll send you a login today for the most up-to-date version. We've just refilmed everything to try and make it as user-friendly as possible. Susanna said, big thanks to your team and all the advice. You're very, very welcome. Scotland has no ban yet. Yep, no problem. Yeah, it's only Wales that currently have the ban. Cool. I wonder if one could use a spray collar interchangeable to an e-collar for training a German Shepherd if prong collars, e-collars are banned here in Germany. The thing is with spray collars, the effects linger. So if it's like a citronella spray and it sprays the dog, the effects linger and the punishment is elongated. If I use punishment as a vague term there. And so I don't like them for that reason. Whereas e-collar, I press the button, turns on, it's immediately turned off, right? So I'd just be careful on the spray collars. Yeah, you have to show the hard times. Like, it's not perfect, right? It's not like dog training, like dealing with a reactive dog, the progression isn't, I don't know, like that. It's often like this. Right? That's how the process looks in many times because we don't control the environment and sometimes things go wrong. I'm trying to reading the messages. I'm going to do more of these live chats. I think I'm going to see if Suzanne will let me go live every day, once a day next week. I do enjoy them. Lara, hi Lara, how are you? She just completed a boot camp. Which one were you in last week or the week before? Oh, they all blur. We got a new one in this week. It was amazing and has changed our life. I'd recommend it. Yeah, if you're in the UK, we have a 5-day boot camp intensive. You get some pre-training homework and some post-training homework. Agent Reva said, for compulsion conducive questioner, I think Jacob is fantastic at pre-work and sharpening the axe. His methods have helped immensely. Still working on it. Yeah, preparation-based trainer, if you will. I know the government makes some interesting decisions, but it's a bit off-putting if they are banned in various countries, as well as what trainers say, as well as the scientific papers being anti them. We all know those papers are incredibly flawed. Incredibly, if you look at Melanie Uda's stuff. The thing is with like the scientific consensus on dog training, the sort of studies they put in place like wouldn't have any sort of standing in any like way, shape, or form in any other industry. Like they'd just be thrown out. It's ridiculous. Like there's no scientific consensus because there's like this, you know. If you want a scientific study, take the last 1,000 dogs we've trained over the last couple of years. That would be a comprehensive study. If anyone wants to come in and do it, well, I'm welcome to. Good to hear you and Jackson doing fine. Right, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I said I'll do an hour. I've gone over. I hope this was helpful. I'll get on maybe another back end of the week or something. I appreciate all your time. I appreciate you asking your questions. Like I said, sincerely hope it was helpful. I hope it was nice and transparent. I will say, yeah. I'll jump on end of this week, next week. If you're, a couple of people here said, like, listen, got no money at the moment, go ahead, hit the link in the description, download the Behavior Bible. It's not going to get over like big problems, but it'll fucking put you in the right direction. And I think it'll really help a lot of people. I've had people leave me reviews from the Behavior Bible saying it changed their dog's life. So it's a good starting point. I don't think it's going to get people over the big problems where the dog is reacting and redirecting. That's a training with instinct jobby. That's what we do. So yeah, that might be a route you want to go down. Fine. Someone asked if we had any trainers in America. We can help you remotely, but if you let me know where you are in America, I'm more than happy to refer you on to someone I deem is capable to solve your issue as well. Quick one. What is the difference between the Behavior Bible and Training with Instinct? Similar format. Training with Instinct is much more depth. So each module is explanation, demo, FAQ, summary of everything we've talked about. It also covers e-collar and punishment in great detail, like step-by-step detail. The training with instinct, you get a personalized game plan now as well, so relevant to you and your dog's current situation. And then obviously, what we're really selling there is the support. So we do a daily group call. We cap them at 12 people, where you can be on the camera and ask us your question. You get a one-to-one support line as well. You get my phone number. If anyone's not getting back to you soon enough, or you need any clarity on anything, you simply send me a message and I'll put things straight. And you get access to our Training with Instinct community too. So you can go and graduate. We're going to start sending out gifts for graduates as well. So if any graduates are here, let us know. We'll send you out a little something to as a memento for working with us and a thank you. But yeah, anyway, pleasure having you all on. Appreciate you all showing up, spending your time with me. I hope you and your dog have a wonderful day. I'll put one of these in the back end of the week. Hit the links in the description if you want to work with us, or you want the behavior Bible, or anyone on the mentorship side of things, whether it's the business or the dog trainer development. We have two. One improves your skill set. One, I can help you kind of with the business side of things. This one's been operating 5 years. I've been 10 years in the game now. And I get a lot of dopamine seeing you do well or seeing great dog trainers do well and helping a lot of people. And truth be told, to be frank, making yourself some money so you can go and, live a better life, spending more time with your dog, not running around the hamster wheel doing donkey work. Anyway, that's my pitch. Yeah, catch you all next week or whenever you come back. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. Bye, 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 bye.